meme queen and the fierce commentator join G4 Esports as on-air talent for the channel's esports programming. The two have always wanted to work with each other, at least that's what I have heard. What does it mean
Really,
to
Frosk?
you guys?
No. I was like, ooh, keep a straight face.
Working with chick.
I figured this is how the interview would go.
Yeah.
Well, what does it mean for you guys to be together and finally work with each other? We can start with you, Ovilee, since you know.
I mean, like, I think I've told Frosk this before, maybe just behind her back. But I've been watching Frosk almost as long as I've been watching like Shocks in the League of Legends scene. So I've always tried to find. You shush your face, girl. I am talking about you. But honestly, like, she was always one of the figureheads in the League of Legends scene, and I was like, holy crap, she does amazing work. And I think one of the biggest issues was either she was in, I don't know, China or Europe. So we could never really find an easy way to collaborate. So now it's like, oh crap, the stars are finally aligning. What weird content is going to come out of this?
Yeah, I think I remember seeing you on LCS and I immediately messaged Cass, the makeup artist, good friends, and I was like, please tell me I'm still your favorite, but is Ovilee as cool as she seems? And it was just kind of like that. So super fortunate. Ovilee, big fan. I don't know if I've ever told you that, but I'll tell you that now. Big fan.
Gasp.
First time that you guys actually got to meet in person since you've had this relationship sort of online or over broadcast, I suppose.
No, what was the event? It wasn't my first Worlds because I was the only person on site for my first Worlds. Was it Worlds in Berlin?
It was this last. Yeah, it was this last time that you were in Berlin, and we went out to ramen with Vedius, Ender, you, me, and I think maybe Dracos was there. Someone else was there. Medic, maybe? Maybe Dracos. But we had dinner together.
Yeah.
Was he still dressed as Pantheon with the baguette?
No, not that time. It was very, very cold, and I think we had to sit outside for a while.
That's fair.
Yeah.
You were running off to film with G2.
Yeah, they make good content, man. They had JoJo posters lining the back of that ramen place. It's the only reason why I agreed, I think, to go with you guys. I'm like, ramen in Berlin? Coming from LA? You're out of your damn mind.
I'm gonna be really honest. It's no like killer noodle, but Haku Ramen in Berlin is like the only good place that you can get ramen. And for those like League fans that do come to Berlin, go to that ramen shop. You're like destined to see some sort of esports person.
Yeah, it's the same thing with places in LA.
Places.
I'm not saying it.
Okay.
She's leaked hardcore.
Oh, I leaked. Everyone knows.
Uh-oh.
Whoops.
Whoops. Okay, guys. Since working together did play a big factor in this, in bringing you guys together to make this content, what else made you guys choose G4 as your home?
First or me first?
I can go ahead and start.
Yeah, get in there.
I could just let me get in there, Frosk. Let me just get in there. Because this is actually pretty cool. Because we have to fight a little bit. Otherwise, there's not that real, like relationship. What's a relationship without a little bit of drama? But I've actually been speaking to G4 for a long time now, like a couple years, about joining on and seeing what type of fun content that they can do. Because I'm gonna be honest, like G4 was a little bit, it missed me. I think I missed G4 by like 2 years. I was just too young and I didn't own like the specific cable channel in order to have it, because I don't know, Asian household and extra channels, it didn't work out that way. Okay, it just doesn't work out that way. So my first introduction to G4 was actually speaking with them and hearing about all of their huge plans that they have for all of this content that they want to bring throughout, all of their secret channels and secret ways to be announced, to be determined. And that was something that was super exciting to me, that I was excited to jump onto. So the esports show that we're working on right now, like, wasn't even a thing. It's something that all of us came together and helped create because we wanted to find that weird esports content that, isn't out there for the fans right now. Like the weird crap that I do with LCS. Like one of the reasons why people liked my content is because let's face it, sometimes the broadcast can get a little bit stale, a little bit
boring.
Yeah, a little bit like that. It's just the same old, same old. So I'm really excited with what G4's trying to do with esports, because it feels like we're, pushing the lines a little bit. We're gonna, if I don't make at least one player cry, then I think we're doing that.
Okay,
But
fair.
Well, on the other side, I am almost 30, so G4 is like right in my pocket, and I grew up with it. I was a big fan of Attack the Show, X-Play. I remember watching the iPhone being released and the tech coverage on G4, and like looking at my dad at the time and being like, that is the future. My parents actually thinking that I was just like crazy, like, oh, who would actually want that type of cell phone? They're supposed to be getting smaller. Now they're getting larger. Whatever. Who knew? So like when I had the opportunity to try out for casting for G4, I remember like pulling my girlfriend aside at the time. I was like, honey, if we have to move to LA, like, just know I want this job. Like, I really want it. I've always wanted to work for them. They are like basically why I went into gaming to begin with, because this was like the channel that, I don't know, some say passion, I would say obsession. It's basically on that borderline right there. As far as like the esports show, I always want to say but we're not going to bleep it this time. So the esports show, Trey and Ovilee approached me and kind of like threw up the concept that it was very SNL kind of weekend update, and we'd already done a lot of this type of content over on the LEC with the LEC update, which is basically inspired by SNL weekend update. Hilariously,
or what's the other show that Ender ripped off?
Oh, Two Ferns.
No,
Between Two Ferns.
God. No,
that's a great.
He rips off all of the shows. I'm like, I don't know what you want. First and foremost, I pitched it.
The TLU, the liquid.
Oh, the liquid update. Yeah, come on. Okay,
Exactly.
yes. The superior show that Ovilee did in the liquid update. I think the important thing, though, in esports particularly is it's really interesting to have a cross esports show, and I'm really curious if this will continue to be the formation that the esports show takes, simply because, I like League of Legends, and I like CSGO, and I like Valorant, but I hate Dota, and I hate Overwatch, and I hate Fortnite. Like, esports fans are not collective esports fan. Exactly. So it's like, it's interesting. Can you make a show that's a collective through all of the humor? And I think that's where the show will actually like pop off, not in the this team won and this team lost, but making pop culture jokes throughout it. Because even if we have like our different esports that we like and our different teams and our different players, like the sense of humor just follows that through line of like pop culture. And I think that's what really drew me to G4, and I hope kind of like returns with B4 G4 is this idea of like, as the internet, it's basically just like pop culture shooting through your veins, and it's no longer just like nerd culture, it's like everything. Like, you must be up to date all the time, and it's now like the language that we all communicate in due to the prevalence of social media.
And that's the really cool thing with B4 G4 as well. Like, this is all experimentation. This is for the fans to tell us what they like or what they hate. Like, if we do the Bleep Esports show and everyone just comes out and they're like, this sucks.
We read those YouTube comments.
Yeah, we read the YouTube comments. I'm a masochist. Like, I go through Reddit and everything. Like, I get it.
You're like sitting in your bathtub, you're like reading, you're like, yes, Jerry 47, I did suck.
It hurts so good. No. But this is the time for new G4 fans and old G4 fans to make themselves heard and say, hey, I like the concept for this. Maybe we change it something like this. And the show that we have right now may be completely different to the esports show that we have in like a year or so. We don't know. We're here to, continue to ideate and create and adapt and change everything until hopefully we have this really fun esports show that encompasses all esports instead of just, I don't know, League of Legends, and then gives everyone a good laugh at the end of the day.
And I think that kind of comes from like the background that the esports fan base, as well as like Ovilee and I have. Like, Ovilee, I don't know specifically what your background coming from esports is, or even what yours is, but it's like, I feel like every esports person that you talk to, it all started the same way, which is we were nerds in our bedroom and we had to learn like a craft to take, again, this obsession into an actual profession, which means that we're used to communicating in the same way that our audience does on message boards, through comments, on social media. So we're like already in the conversation because we've always been a part of the conversation. And I think that's also like what makes esports so different than traditional sports.
Well, I mean, it's very clear that you guys have definitely a lot to share, a lot in common, but at the same time, you guys are such different people and such different content creators. How is this dynamic working out for you guys?
I mean, the way that I see it in Frosk, I'm sure you can add a crap ton to like this topic, but the way that I see it is the more different voices that you have in a room, the better your ideas are going to be. Because at the end of the day, like I don't know if Frosk follows anime too much or if Frosk follows like the weird crap that I do on Twitter, but there could be jokes that get missed because of it. Like I'm like, no. I'm like, Frosk, listen. In this week's show, we need to say, fuck them kids. The producers are like, Ovilee, that's a terrible idea. And maybe it's a terrible idea, but the 10 weebs in the audience, they'll understand what it is. And I'm sure there's a way better way for me to have explained that, but having different voices in a room, especially in a writer's room where you're trying to, make sure that everyone in the audience gets a laugh, like, I think having both me and Frosk in there, again, like you said, we're different. We cover freaking everything under the sun. I just think that makes for a better product.
It's been pretty freaking amazing, very funny. Perfect example, Ovilee, is the H&R block joke. I laughed, you didn't. It's okay. It's fine. But I will, that joke, no, I will just laugh about it till the end of time. Such a good joke.
May or may not make it into the episode.
It definitely is not making it into the episode. By the way, like that, the latest episode, I think it drops tomorrow. Yeah, Ovilee? That episode is...
I don't know when this is. Friday. Every single Friday. At sometime in the morning time.
Good catch. That episode toes the line.
Listen, we're going to have people probably get upset at us. They're going to be like, Ovilee, what did you say is your first line for this show? But it makes sense. It's very self-deprecating at the end of the day. Like, it makes sense. And I think the overall goal of this is to kind of toughen up the esports audience, because everyone here is so soft. Like, that's why I still love Doublelift so much, because he will say the craziest stuff and he can have people trash talk on him, and he doesn't, like, make a huge twit longer about it and ask that I resign because I called him washed up. Like, you know what I mean? So
I feel like walking into this interview and not asking you guys about League of Legends would be almost a crime. How is this role different from what you guys are used to doing? And how do you guys see this adaptation working out in the future? We can start with Frosk.
So obviously I'm coming from LEC, and essentially already working with G4 has all of the greatest parts of working at the LEC, which was like the amazing collaboration, getting to make content, being super flexible in the content that you're making, the feedback culture, things like that. And you just like minus all the bullshit of just like casting for one. Like, I'm no longer really responsible for casting the games or keeping up to date with that thing. It's now really focusing on the performance element of it and the packaging of content creation. So it's kind of like all the fun things that were of my job minus all of the really shitty things that were of my job. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, and then for me, I'm just pumped that I can take all of these really weird ideas and give them to G4, and they say, oh, wait, we actually have like a production budget for this. Because what I'm used to is like, this is what I used to film like almost all of my LCS content. It was, I would attach my phone to it, and then I just walk around like the back studio in my own house or pay a friend to do stuff.
Okay, guys. Lastly, to talk about before we move on to the rapid fire questions that I prepared for you, I do want to ask, what were your favorite skits that you guys have done so far? And that can be, part of the LEC. It can be part of extra content like you've done with EG, or anything that relates to either League of Legends or anything else.
Frosk, you go first.
Favorite content that I've ever done was we did the Darude Sandstorm video for LEC.
That was good.
But the thing is why it's like my favorite is it was just such a dumb idea, because we spent a ridiculous amount of money making it. They flew us to Athens. We had a boat at one point. Like, we had the cameraman for 2 days. We went to like actual historic sites. that charged a shit ton. And fun fact, we almost weren't able to release it because we almost didn't have the rights to do so. So we spent a shit ton of money making this video, almost killing us in like 100 degree heat. It was like 46 degrees Celsius. Like, I almost died. And then we're like, by the way, we might not be able to release this because we need to get the right license. Thank God we did get the license and we were able to release it. But there was like a straight time period where like Medic, Ender, not Trevor, Ender and I were like, we almost died for heat stroke for nothing. How much did that boat cost for a day? What? So that was my favorite piece of content, just because like that is like the most epitome thing of like esports. Like, let's do a ridiculously dumb idea just because we know it will resonate with the audience.
I didn't run through Athens, but I did run through the Summoner's Rift twerking with Team Liquid.
That was one of the best videos out there, to be honest.
That was a fever dream of a video. It was for people who do not know what it was or what I am referring to. I filmed a video with Team Liquid during their Worlds run last year, in which Liquid made it out of the play-ins, titled "Weak Ass Play-ins."
And then what happened?
Let's not talk about it, Frosk. Let's just talk about the beautiful content, which was NA's best performance at Worlds.
Yeah, Ovilee's content was the best performance at Worlds from North America.
It always is. It always is. But
fact,
honestly, like the Worlds content, I love, because that's where I feel like we get to go really crazy with fans, both when I did stuff with Liquid and with G2. Like, one of my favorite memories just ever is probably actually going to be with G2 at the World Finals in Paris, where I grabbed part of the G2 flag and Carlos and I ran like 3 laps around the arena. It was a huge arena, and I can't run from here to like my fridge door without being out of breath. We did that 3 times. Laura finished her interview. I put her on my back and she held the flag, and we ran around the arena again. Like, the energy that was in there was insane for EU. And Frosk, it's like Frosk's region, and I'm just like the NA outsider who is here to make content and support like the Western brothers, since NA crapped out again. But like the energy, the passion you could feel from the crowd, and just the screams whenever you hold up the G2 flag, like, hands down, one of the best memories.
And this is what's happening on the analyst desk as she's doing that. We're like setting up. We're just like, did a streaker just get loose in the arena? Oh shit, that's Ovilee. Deficient, do you see that? Who's she carrying?
So I don't know if you're aware of this, but they showed me and Laura on the French broadcast. Every single time we appeared behind the NA broadcast, they cut us out. They cut us out so fast. They're like, switch to a different camera angle, switch to a different camera angle. I'm like, excuse me?
North American producer dives into the room. Eject!
None of this EU bullshit.